Hey guys, greetings and salutations from sunny Philadelphia, and I'm here today to show you what's going on with this outdoor plant. And keep in mind, we're in Southeast PA, so if you're around that area or in New Jersey, then this will probably apply to you. So my goal with this plant is to basically have it to where it's short, it's a little more stealth. So short and squatty is going to win the race here. And right now we have about, I think it's 14 hours and like 20 minutes of sunlight. So we haven't quite hit that under 14 hours of sunlight to where it's going to start really flowering. But we are almost in that pre-flowering stage right now. So I know from growing indoors, because this is my first outdoor plant, but I do know from growing indoors that there's going to be a big stretch that's going to happen now. So in order to defeat that stretch, what I did is I did some high stress training. And most of you probably know, most of the people who are watching these videos probably know what high stress training is. For those of you who don't, basically what you do is you take, here, I don't have any left, but basically what you're doing here, I'll do it on this one. You're going to squeeze that, and you're going to kind of go all the way around, and you're going to squeeze the fibers of that. And basically what it does is it makes like a bruise, and it makes it to where it's floppy, and then it bends over just like that. And what's going to happen here, I'm going to show you the main cola right here. This is the main cola. This was the middle, and it's about 3 foot tall where I bent it, right? So the knuckle's going to form right there. It's going to get very thick. It's going to get very hard. And whatever position this is sitting in, that's how it's going to stay once that knuckle forms. So what I did is I bent everything over and did high stress training on it. You can see that one's a little twisted up, but it should still produce the knuckle. As long as water can flow through here, it will repair itself. There's another one. There's another one that's really bent down. That's going to be crazy, but most likely going to get that knuckle on it and it's going to survive. There's another one right there. And what it does is it thickens up right in there. It's almost like if you break a bone and you get arthritis, in that bone. It's going to grow back thick, and it's going to be like, I don't know if you've ever seen somebody who broke all their fingers on their hand, but they're going to be gnarly looking. And that's exactly what happens when you do the high stress training. You're going to get that knuckle on top. So this is basically going to be for if you're trying to shorten the plant. If you want to bring it down, and basically what's going to happen is, so however I just broke it, however long between the knuckle and the top is, that's how much height you're saving on the plant. So, for example, this one right here is the main cola. That's about 3 feet. So even though that's going to freeze in basically in this position, it is going to, once the stretch starts, it is going to stretch from the top right there. And you're still going to get however many feet of stretch. But you're just saving the amount it's going to stretch by taking the height down before it goes into the stretch phase. And that's what's going to happen with that. Really no signs so far of any kind of pre-flowers. I do know it's a female though. There you go. See the little baby hairs there. So it is a female. But this is just a little tip that you can use. And my next step is going to be doing a lot of defoliation. Basically on a lollipop. So the third of the plant from about here down to the bottom, you're just going to defoliate the whole thing. You're going to take all the leaves off, and you're going to let all the action be on the top 2/3 of the plant. And basically what that's going to do is going to make it to where air can get in there. It's going to make it to where the air can get in there real good, and it's going to make it to where there's a prevention of mold, because that's your biggest enemy right now is powdery mildew. You do not want to get powdery mildew on your plant. That's going to be the big downfall. The next big one that you have is bud rot. If you don't have enough airflow and you're letting this plant get too wet, between like September 15th and Halloween, you're going to get bud rot. So, you know, some people will go to extremes and they will cover their plant if they know they're going to get a lot of rain. That's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do is just be vigilant about it and sacrifice some of your branches, sacrifice some of your colas and some of your branches so you have that airflow. For example, like on this one that I have right now, it's so thick and there's so many different colas on this because I did do training on it. I did top it a bunch of times. There's probably like 30 colas are going to form on this thing. So, you know, in order to combat that, I might have to cut some of the smaller ones out before flower. So that's just a couple techniques you can use to ensure that you don't run into bud rot. Another one that people say is bad is the caterpillars. And basically, from what I understand, they lay seeds on the plant, and when they hatch, the worms, actually, they're called bud worms. They actually go into your bud and they drill holes through the bud. So, you know, that's another thing that you don't want, because then you're going to have eggs and insects inside of your bud. So that's another thing you're really going to want to try to prevent. Besides that, this willow tree is a hybrid willow. And this thing it's called a Salix. It's the scientific name for it is Salix Matsudana. Salix, Salix Matsudana, and Matsudana. And I got this off of fastgrowingtrees.com. And I probably did plant it too close to the fence. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the canopy. I'm going to cut everything you see from the top of the fence down. I'm going to cut all of that off so I can raise the canopy. But I'm not going to do it until this reaches about 28 feet. Right now it's probably close to 20. And I'm guessing next year it's probably going to put on another 15. And it's going to widen out a whole bunch. But if you're looking for something fast growing that's easy to maintain, definitely look into willows. And I actually have some lateral branches on here. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a lateral branch right at my fingertip that's coming off this way. And that lateral branch needs to come off before next spring, because you don't want any competing lateral branches on there. It's kind of hard to explain, but you are going to have some Y branches, obviously, because you need branches. But when it's coming off and it's almost like a competing top, you don't want two tops. You want that thing to keep growing and have one really solid top and no competition. So I am going to take that off. And when I take that off, that's going to go right in the soil. I'm probably going to take it off around the end of February. And I'm going to stick that thing right in the outside, right in the freezing soil. And I'm just going to let nature do its work. For those of you who don't know, willow trees contain a huge amount of growth hormone. I don't know if it's gibberellin or not. I can't tell you that. But they do contain a huge amount of growth hormone. And what a lot of people will do, especially natural or organic gardeners, they'll soak some of these willow branches, some of the small wispy ones, they'll soak them in water and they'll use that to root their other plants. And it works really, really well. But getting back to that branch that I'm going to cut off, that branch is going to be about at least an inch thick, maybe a little thicker by the time the summer's over. And I'm just going to stick that right in at the end of February. And whether or not we get a freeze, nothing's going to stop that thing from pushing out new growth and starting to root, as long as it's in soil and it has a little bit of moisture and warmth. So March is going to go by, and I'm guessing by the middle of April, that thing's going to start having little tiny buds on it, that big branch. And it's going to form a whole nother willow tree. That easy. So anyway, greetings and salutations. I got to go get something to eat for dinner. And we'll keep keeping an eye on this sucker over here. And we're going to keep it as low as we can. And hopefully we're going to get some beautiful stuff off of that. That's a sour apple butter for those of you who, you know, have been tuning or haven't been tuning in. That's a sour apple butter. I forgot what the cross is. It's a peanut butter. It's a apple fritter and peanut butter breath cross, and I was really happy with it indoors. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how it does outdoors. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to shoot them in the comments. For some reason, if you're the first comment or the top comment, it has not. YouTube has not been letting me reply. It keeps giving me an error. So, if you have a question and it's not answered, it's probably because there's errors on YouTube. I'm going to try uninstalling it and reinstalling it, and then probably get on the fucking GPT and see if I can figure it out. If I can't figure it out with just uninstalling and reinstalling. But anyway, have a great week. I hope everyone's doing wonderful, and I hope you're having a wonderful summer and getting outside and really enjoying the sun. Thanks a lot, guys.